as of 2019, right before the world got crazy on us, there were a lot of YouTubers that were vegans that were suddenly being caught on camera eating meat, and I laughed at the time because I was like, they know. They know that they're deficient, and they're trying to put forth this image, this, and I'll use the word propaganda to kind of hold up the message because they built their followings on veganism. And so they can't dare be seen. That would be like me getting caught eating a carb. Now I'm like a crappy carb. If somebody caught me on camera, oops. And so it was a little embarrassing for them, but it was a bunch. It wasn't just a one-off. It was like tons of these popular big accounts. And so yeah, I think the narrative was starting to unravel right before the pandemonium happened.
Yeah, but I think in this country, like vegan restaurants are closing down. Like I think even Earthly Ned restaurant is not doing well. Earthly Ned is like our main vegan person. I wish I would like. My dream is to debate him one day
Yeah.
if he's listening. Like I would really love to like I would love an intelligent debate with someone who doesn't think the same as me, but is like they will never do it, will they?
Well, yes. No, they don't want that debate. I remember here in America, one of the top people was T. Colin Campbell, who wrote the China Study, the big famous vegan Bible,
Yeah.
basically. And he had a debate with Dr. Eric Westman, who I co-wrote my Clarity books with. And they had a debate at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. This is like 4 or 5 years ago now, and it had a lot of fanfare, but T. Colin Campbell was all emotional. There was no like science presented. He did this debate, but it was this appeal to emotion. Whereas Dr. Westman is a scientist. He's published like hundreds of studies, and he was using all the science. And meanwhile, T. Colin Campbell was just like evoking emotion in the crowd to get people on his side. And that's the unfortunate thing. Yes, they'll cite things like one egg is equivalent to a pack of cigarettes, blah, 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 but they don't like dig into that data. And then if you're debating somebody like that, you go, well, wait a minute, that scientific study is wrong because da 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 da. Da. And the next thing you know, they have another scientific study that's bogus that then you have to refute. You'll just sit there the whole time like whack-a-mole trying to beat down all the bad science that they're reporting when there's actual good science that shows the opposite, that meat is extremely healthy, extremely,
Yeah.
and going to give you a lot of things that are good for your health. But you spend so much time and energy whacking down their bad science that you can't even share the good science.
Yeah. Gotta say hi. My cousin's up and he's got two vegan sisters. And I know he struggled. He's like he's he's lifting weights and all that, and he's just like I have to like add meat to everything because my sisters would only cook me vegan meals. And um yeah, I just wanted to give him a shout. I was like, you're gonna hear this pain of having a whole family of vegans and you being the meat eater. Um, but yeah, I agree 100%. And yeah, I wish there would be more debates, more intelligent conversation, because I feel like you always can learn from the opposition. And
And vice
Paul Palladino did an amazing, but it's like an hour and a half of like that's the problem. Is like when you're trying to get through a message, it's like so long from our side that I feel like people just drop out. Like it's so difficult to like, the every concept we try to talk about is so complex. Like I'm basically telling you everything is more complicated than you think.
yeah.
Nothing is as easy. You're gonna have to put in the time. You're gonna have to use critical thinking. You're gonna have to go against the grain, against what your doctor says, to achieve optimal health. And it's like people will be like, no, thank you. Like I'm just gonna do what everyone else does. So yeah, is as I said, it's not an easy battle to win, unfortunately. But all we can do is lead by example and show the results, basically.
Yeah. So, Danny, when you went back to eating the perfect human diet, is what I would call eating meat, what happened in your health? Because you did have, at least according to the article, and you had pictures of yourself very malnourished, and then you became fat eating vegan, basically. What were the things that got better besides your weight? What else did you see improved when you started eating meat again on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, my weight, like I lost quite a bunch of weight before to be like the time I was like I lost a bunch of weight, like but the fact is that I couldn't keep it off.
Yeah.
Because I did calories in, calories out. So as soon as I would start eating again, so because I didn't realize that even if I lost weight, even though all that, I was still insulin resistant. So as soon as I went carnivore, I realized that the insulin resistance was gone because I stopped needing to pee every 45 minutes, and I was less thirsty all the time. I'm still quite thirsty, but just normally, but it was just like constant sipping and then constant peeing because of that blood sugar now that you're trying to expel. And the IBS, like I didn't even think about it. Like I still have, of course, irritable bowel syndrome for many, many years. It was very debilitating, and of course, vegan diet made it 1,000 times worse. Then, but I didn't think about it at all. Like I went carnivore just as a kind of like a challenge to myself to see what happens, and IBS was gone within weeks. I was really baffled. Like I didn't expect it at all. And just the weight stabilization, like for me, was no, like I know lots of people go carnivore and they suddenly get super lean and they're like melting away and all that. Good for them. Like I'm happy for them, but it didn't happen to me actually because I was eating like, cause, like as the same as vegan, like you get carnivore influencer just promoting, oh, you can literally shove a whole tub of butter down your in a day and you're not gonna gain weight because fat doesn't make you fat. It's not that accurate. Like fat won't make you become obese with insulin resistant diabetes,
Yes.
but you can still gain body fat by eating fat because it still matters that if you're eating 6,000 calories a day and you only burn 2,000, the 4,000 are gonna go somewhere.
Right.
So I did actually start getting a little bit chubbier, but it was all subcutaneous. And then I kind of started like playing with like protein sparing days and just trying to find kind of my way. And also eating so much fat wasn't making me feel all that amazing, to be honest. Um, like every solution for like carnivore problems was like eat more fat. But no, is like is not everything gets solved by eating a bunch of butter. Like
Yeah.
everyone needs a tailored solution.
Well, and I think putting the focus on protein and the natural fats that come with that protein, maybe a little bit of added fat, like a pat of butter or something for flavor and that kind of thing to
Yeah.
cook in, that suffices. I think the whole notion that, oh, you're just putting gobs upon gobs, a whole stick of butter, it's just ridiculous. Nobody's actually doing that. And so, thank you for articulating that, by the way. Kyla had a question. Someone like me has issues with IBS, but does already eat meat. What is the advice you would offer to help people like her instead of medication?
So cut out all plants foods, cut out all dairy, and just focus on do like a 30-day kind of like reset, like gut. Just ruminant meats and loads of bone broth. Like I drink like so much bone broth because
Yeah.
it's all that glycine, and just you kind of give your digestive tract a massive break, and then you go from there. You start bringing it back. You start bringing back dairy, other meats, and then you have to be like really kind of like play the like little bit at a time and just see what happens. Like whoop, like it's not like a forever thing. You can start bringing foods back, like, but you just become hyper aware of what your gut. But if you give your gut a massive break with no plants foods and no dairy and nothing that basically ferments, uh, the IBS should clear like in a month or maybe a bit more,
Yeah.
depending on how bad. It's usually like the leaky gut syndrome that takes a little bit longer to heal, depending on the how damaged the gut lining is. But loads of bone broth, loads of collagen should heal those tears.
That bone broth is amazing. Like, and I cook literally everything, Danny, in bone broth. Like, I just made a meal before we came on the air. I had some pastured pork sausage, local farmer, and I put some pepperoni in there, a little bit of mozzarella, but I put beef bone broth for it to simmer in. And it like soaked up all those juices, and then you have that. It's great. And I know people will drink bone broth straight up. It's like a nice little morning coffee substitute. And yeah, it's awesome when you learn proper nutrition. Your body will reward you pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's good that you say coffee because I cut out coffee as well.
Yeah.
Because
The bean.
again, coffee will wreck your gut if that's like you just have to do clean it up, clean everything, and then see like you might be okay with coffee, you might be okay with tea, or you
Yeah.
might have a coffee and realize that you're bloated all of a sudden, and then you know. Okay, question is as far as breakfast and lunch drinking that as a meal. Yeah, like anytime, any moment of the day you can drink bone broth. There's no really
Bone broth
a
is
right or wrong.
Yeah, bone broth
You
is a
can take it with you. It's amazing. Like even if you're a bit hungry and like you don't want to eat, having you have a cup of bone broth, you're full for like an hour for sure. There's all those amino acids and all that.
although I made a mistake when I was doing some extended fast. Thought, oh, I'll drink bone broth and save off the hunger. It actually more hungry when all you're consuming is bone broth. And I know people like to do fasting with bone broth. It made me hungrier. It still has amino acids in it, you guys, and so you got to be
You're
mindful.
still digesting, yeah. So yeah, like touching up on the fasting thing, I think if you're gonna do carnivore, like one thing that I did really wrong is that I throw myself into fasting. And if you're extremely metabolic and flexible, you can't fast. Like you have to reduce, you have to start slowly. Like even 12 hours can seem like ages for someone who is eating 6 times a day, like standard people basically who has a nighttime snack and then eats first thing in the morning, snacks throughout the day. So I thought, sure, I went to like intermediate fasting and it gave me onset hypoglycemia, adrenal fatigue. So like just eat when you're hungry. Like don't think because some like again a lot of people say, oh, if you fast it's like the most amazing thing. Yeah, like it can be, but it can be is a stressful time for your body.
Yeah.
And like if you are stress on stress, if you have high cortisol, adrenal fatigue, which loads of people has and they don't really know they have it, they just feel like shit all the time. So can I swear? Like I don't know if this is PG. um and you have low motivation at the gym, you're dragging yourself. That's all signs of like adrenal like burnout. And adding fasting on top of that, I think is a bit of a gamble because it could go really well but it could go really wrong because you're stressing your body even more.
Right.
So yeah, there's no one size fits all, and like loads of influencers will just push their one message, be like, this is work for me, so it's gonna work for you. And you have to really be like, oh, I'm actually hungry in the morning. Like I'm hungry in the morning. Does that mean I have the worst metabolism in the world? I don't think so. Like I train a lot in the morning, I do my weights, and I can't do it fasted. And it took me a lot of time to just admit it to myself and to start eating 3 meals a day. And that's it. That's how it works for me. Like I can't do 1 or 2 meals a day, and that's all. That's me.
By the way, having an accent and saying "shut," it's a little better than "shit." To your point, that's great. By the way, thank you for articulating your thoughts about fasting. Women, and I've had different people on my podcast recently. Cynthia Thurlow just released a book about intermittent fasting for women. It's different than it is for guys, especially the week before your cycle starts. Um, that's tough. Like you don't want to be messing with fasting the week before, and so timing it the right way and kind of getting the right foods in at that time, it all matters.
Yeah, 100%. And I think don't like if you're training hard and you're like going for it, lifting weights, I think like there is a safe space for carbohydrates. Like I know some people now might jump off and be like, oh, she said the C word, and like um I think it depends on your situation. If you're metabolically healthy, you lost the weight,